face the final frontier.
These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise.
Welcome, everybody, to the wonderful Black Hole of Sports podcast. This is Jeremy, a.k.a. JB Huskers, back after a one-week hiatus, giving you episode 3 here. Once again, we are always brought to you by thegamingtailgate.com. We're going to talk about a little bit of baseball, a little bit of golf, a little bit of soccer. We're going to go all around the world, literally, this podcast. And first, we're going to start off with a big milestone in the major leagues. Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees hit his 3,000th hit on July 9th. He is the 28th player in baseball history, only the second ever to do it with a home run. Wade Boggs was the first one to ever do so. The home run is actually only Jeter's third of the season, as he's showing a lot of signs of slowing down. He's a 37-year-old shortstop, only batting in the 260s this year with 3 homers and about 25 RBIs. He's the first player since Craig Biggio to hit the 3,000 mark. Biggio did it back in 2007. The day, though, July 9th, was definitely momentous for Derek Jeter because he went an amazing 5 for 5 that day and was a triple shy of the cycle. Derek Jeter definitely, on the hated Yankees, Jeter is a likable guy. He's a consummate Yankee. He never gets in trouble. Plays the game the right way, so I'm definitely proud of Derek Jeter and his big accomplishment there. The Open Championship was last weekend in Sandwich, England, and definitely the elements came into play. Strong winds, strong rains, almost everything that's always indicative of the Open Championship definitely came into play last weekend. An amazing story. Darren Clarke from Northern Ireland wins the Open at 5 under par. From that tiny country in Northern Ireland, they have now produced 3 major champions just over the past 6, as Rory McIlroy won and Graham McDowell, also from Northern Ireland. It's a great story that Darren Clarke won this championship. I definitely was rooting for him all the way here. He lost his wife to breast cancer at age 39 back in 2006. He's a regular man. He's an everyday man's man from Northern Ireland. He definitely loves his pint of Guinness like I do, and I definitely had enough of those last night, I can tell you that much. The win definitely is not a gigantic shock. He won the Iberdrola Open on the European Tour back in May, so he's definitely been in the winner's circle recently. He's had a recent sniff of success, so he kind of had a recent memory of being able to keep that mindset to stay on top of the leaderboard. Definitely performances by Phil Mickelson kind of fell short. Dustin Johnson once again had an OB shot, so once again he has that dreaded major fall down. But, you could tell this is definitely a great story by the way the golfers and the fans were backing him. You could see many golfers throughout the entire ceremony and even before when he went to go sign his scorecard. So many golfers came up to Darren and patted him on the back. It's such a great story, just to see Darren Clarke when he had his sit-down interview with Tom Rinaldi, just the gleam in his eye. You cannot help yourself for being happy for his success. No American now has won the past 7 majors. Of course, Tiger Woods not really competing in most of these majors, and Dustin Johnson and Phil Mickelson did have their shots to kind of snap that streak, but unfortunately an American has not really gotten over the hump recently. The shot of the tournament at the Open definitely came from one of my favorite golfers of all time. Tom Watson had an ace on hole 6. The 61-year-old had a pretty decent showing. Another big story that definitely captivated the nation was the Women's World Cup. The run that the U.S. team had was definitely remarkable. Unfortunately, soccer in the U.S. and even in my own mind really doesn't exist until the World Cup for the women and the men. Other than that, most of the country, along with myself, really, doesn't really take notice. But, there was an amazing goal, one of the most thrilling endings to any game in sports history, especially in recent memory. Definitely occurred in the quarterfinals against Brazil. Now, after that, the U.S. women's team went on to the finals against Japan. Kind of ironic, they had never lost in over 25 matches to Japan. Fell short in the finals, gave up a couple of goals. If the win of the World Cup back in '99 when Brandi Chastain did a nice little strip tease, if that's any indication, this still really doesn't put soccer on the map. It puts it on the map for the U.S., for a few months. People will still talk about it. All these women will go on, do late shows, do interviews, but even when they won it back in '99, it didn't put it on the map. This run in 2011 is nice, but it's not going to put it on the map. We're just going to forget about soccer again in a few months till the Men's World Cup comes around, and I don't really think that's ever going to change in the United States. Let's take a look now at our fantasy baseball roundup. What we always do is take a little snapshot of the past 2 weeks, highlight you some great players that have performed over those 2 weeks, and then also kind of give you some pickup tips, maybe some guys that may be in your free agent pool that you may want to snag as we're kind of heading down the home stretch here. You got almost the end of July coming into August, and then that playoff season starts in September, so you definitely may want to pay attention to some of these guys as there may be a nice little boost to your team. For top performers over the past 2 weeks, pitching CC Sabathia, the New York Yankees. He's definitely making you wonder why he was left off the initial All-Star roster to begin with. Great 2 weeks for CC, 3 quality starts. 2 of those came in wins and 25 strikeouts with a nice 1.08 ERA and a 0.80 whip. That definitely ranks CC Sabathia as 4th overall among all players in fantasy over the past 2 weeks. Another pitcher in the NL West, a team that is really struggling, the LA Dodgers, but there is a guy that could be sliding into that Cy Young discussion. Clayton Kershaw has 2 wins over the past 2 weeks, both quality starts. He's had 20 Ks. The amazing thing over the past 2 weeks, he has not given up a single earned run. He is ranked 6th overall among all players in fantasy over the past 2 weeks. Slightly behind CC, I believe, probably due to the Ks and one less quality start for leagues that do have quality starts. That's where he ranks 6th overall. In terms of hitting, the laser show, Dustin Pedroia, he is finding his groove after a very slow start to the season. The past 2 weeks, he has been on fire, showing you all of his categories are definitely ones he can contribute in. Past 2 weeks, he's batted .452, 8 extra base hits, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, and 4 stolen bases. Once you get some great marks over a 2-week span in every category like that, you're going to definitely be ranked #1 overall fantasy baseball player for the past 2 weeks, as he has. Cameron Mailbag, outfielder for the San Diego Padres, once was a top prospect for the Marlins organization. He is starting to catch fire lately at the plate. He's been batting .370. Got a homer with 6 RBIs and, of course, the speedy 9 stolen bases to add in those next 2 weeks. Flashed some great leather by robbing former teammate Logan Morrison of a home run. So overall, he is just getting it done for the San Diego Padres. He ranks 2nd overall among all players in fantasy over that 2-week stretch. So now we'll take a look at some pickups here for you that may help your team. The first pickup I want to mention is a guy that, we just talked about, Cameron Mailbag. Like I said, 9 stolen bases is a huge stat, especially when you can throw a .370 batting average into that. He can definitely give you a nice boost in a couple of categories. Even with the offensively challenged Padres, he does have 6 RBIs in that stand. So he's definitely a guy worth picking up. In Yahoo leagues, he's only owned in 32%. So he's definitely was a top prospect. A lot of people picked him up when he was called up first by the Marlins. So I think he may be starting to get that groove. So you may want to try to if you got some room on your roster, you need an outfield help. Pick up Cameron Mailbag, definitely. The Philadelphia Phillies, Michael Martinez, not really a household name by many, but since the injury to Placido Polanco, he has definitely stepped up his game. Now, of course, the one thing that us fantasy baseball players love is that he's eligible at second, third, short, and the outfield. You can put him anywhere you want, basically, in that offensive category. Past 2 weeks, he's been batting .324. He's got 2 homers, 11 RBIs. This is a Rule 5 pickup for the Philadelphia Phillies. For those who don't know, the Rule 5 draft, it basically prevents teams from stockpiling too many young players in their minor league system. You know, so there's a little Rule 5 draft, and that's how the Phillies came up with Michael Martinez. The thing with him, though, is you got to keep an eye on where and how many at-bats he's going to get when Polanco comes back to that lineup. Polanco is almost back from that injury, so, you know, pick him up if you've got room. You know, if you've got an injured second, third, or short guy, you know, pick him up. See how many at-bats he'll get in a given week. If he gives you 20 at-bats when Polanco is back in the lineup, you know that they're going to find a way to get him into the game. So there's a good pickup for you if you've got the room. In terms of pitching, we got a guy here that has been a top prospect, and everybody has been waiting. You know, he's had many shots in the majors over the past 3 to 4 years, and just has not produced. But lately, Homer Bailey has been killing it. 2 quality starts over the past couple of weeks. A nice 2.02 ERA, 1.05 WHIP. I'm a big fan of Homer Bailey. You know, I knew he was a huge prospect. I myself have given him many chances on many of my fantasy teams over the past few years. You know, and he is due to become a dominant pitcher eventually. So keep an eye on him. If he's available in your league, make sure to pick him up. Another guy here, he's had a kind of a good run. He's been kind of streaky, but he's had 2 great pitching runs this year, and that's Nick Blackburn of the Minnesota Twins. The Twins are definitely a team that can contend down the stretch, so I honestly think that Blackburn could be dialed in for the rest of the year. Last 2 weeks have been phenomenal for him. He's pitched 13 1/3 innings, 10 Ks in those innings, 2 quality starts, a .69 ERA, .92 WHIP. Definitely some great numbers for Nick Blackburn. He's having himself probably the best season of his career, so definitely make sure to pick him up if he's available in your league. Now we're going to go to one of my favorite segments, of course, crowd participation, the Gaming Tailgaters Mailbag. If you go to the gamingtailgate.com and go into the off-topic thread there, you'll see a little discussion for this podcast, and you can submit anything you want me to talk about, any questions you may have. And we're going to start off here with, of course, a tradition. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, has always definitely brought up a topic of the WWE for me every week, so we'll kick it off here. He wants my thoughts on Vince stepping down last Monday night for his on-camera role as the chairman of the board. And, of course, one shocking moment at the end of Raw when he was about ready to fire John Cena. Out comes Triple H to tell him that he has gotten a vote of inconfidence and that Triple H is now taking over as the chairman. My thoughts are this is awesome. You know, WWE is starting to add some fresh ideas to the mix. CM Punk is taking the world by storm, basically getting the mainstream media in on this, and this just adds even more. Triple H is a great on-camera personality. It's going to add a lot of freshness. I think it's going to lead to definitely a Punk Triple H feud down the road. It could be a Survivor Series match in November. It's hard telling where that may go, and that's the great thing. When you don't know where things are going to go in the WWE storylines, that's what makes it great. Money in the Bank pay-per-view. You did not know where this was going to go. This was one of the best pay-per-views of all of the pay-per-views in the past at least 5 years. It could be the top. I'm definitely buying this baby on Blu-ray when it comes out. To add to Triple H's new role, the Comic-Con Festival in San Diego just had occurred recently, and CM Punk decided to crash it. Let's take a look at what happened.
Hey, I have a question. Yeah! this year, I couldn't help pass this opportunity. How's life in Fantasyland, Hunter?
How's life in the unemployment land?
It's great, actually. I'm actually not looking for a job, but I heard you're trying to crown a WWE champion. Is that true? Ray, I know you're a man of honor and integrity.
True champ.
You're the right Ray, you want a title shot, you can come to Chicago and get one anytime, brother. The third part of my question is, when are you going to put Zack Ryder on television?
First of all, a champion actually performs. So when you want to come back and perform, it's a new day, punk, new regime. Things aren't the same as they used to be. Give me a call. Maybe we can work something out.
CM Punk! 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 CM Punk!
Well, you know where to find me, and I'm sure Stephanie has my phone number, so you can...
Definitely a great moment there. CM Punk, the crowd popping when he walked in the room was phenomenal. You haven't heard a pop like that since the Rock Austin days, and it's just truly awesome, and I can't wait to see where it goes. PSU Snoop wants me to talk about the All-Star selections, wondering if there are too many, if it's a problem. I honestly don't have a problem with it. The All-Star Game, in my opinion, is the only relevant All-Star Game. It's the only one that I will sit down and watch. I will plan to sit down and watch. You know, I love the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. I love the fact that all teams are represented. This is one of the All-Star Games where I don't mind that. It definitely adds to the, it adds to the talk of who got snubbed and such. And I think every team should be represented in this game. There was a talk. Seed League said he may move the All-Star Game to a Wednesday, extending the All-Star break by 1 day. I love it. I actually, it'll suck for fantasy baseball players, but in the end, I love it because Sunday pitchers, we had so many aces on Sunday that couldn't pitch in the All-Star Game because they pitched on Sunday, and so I am a big fan of moving this baby out another extra day, and if they do that, I think it'll actually cut down on those all-star selections because we won't have many that are due to pitching. They'll mainly be mostly due to injuries. So, again, we had like about 85 people that were represented in the all-star game when it was all said and done. But I think the idea, once again, all in all, it all comes down to that idea of extending the break for one more day. I think it'll help things out. Texaco T has a great college football question that he posted. Definitely a nice little debate. His question was, would I take a 10-2 season with a conference championship and a loss to my top rival, or would I take an 8-4 season with a win against my rival? My answer to that is it depends. It's not the solid answer that he may be looking for, but when you take a look at it, I think it depends based on the past few years against that rival. If I've been like in a 3-game losing streak against that rival, I would take the 8-4 season with a win against that rival, breaking that streak. But if I've had a couple of winning seasons or winning games against that rival, I think one loss against that rival is not gonna really piss me off. I think if I've come off of a win the previous season, I would take that 10-2 season, that conference championship, and a loss to the rival. And so basically it just boils down to what's happened in the past few years against that team. Texaco T also has another great question. What would I do with Jeter's ball if I caught it? Well, Jeter specifically, I would sell that bad boy. That bitch is going to make me six figures. I'm not a Yankees fan. I'm a Cubs fan. I am going to get money for that ball. Let's turn the tables, though. If, say, Starlin Castro is a lifelong Cub and he's, 34, 35 years old, been with the Cubs all of his life, best shortstop since Sean Dunston in the 80s, I would have to think about that. I would maybe request to talk with Starlin personally, see what he thinks. Does he want that ball? Have a discussion with him. I would still kind of think about it. I wouldn't necessarily give it up right away, because, anybody could use a nice little six-figure payday. That's for damn sure. Well, that's going to conclude episode 3 of the wonderful Black Hole of Sports podcast. Once again, I thank you so much for listening. Tell your friends if you like this. If you have any kind of suggestions, any feedback, definitely let me know. I'm looking to grow this podcast. We're going to, once the college football season rolls around, we're going to have some special guests and, a couple of co-hosts, a couple of co-pilots into the show. This is just in its 3rd episode, so I'm definitely looking to grow and expand it. And, I've done so this time with including a few video clips here and there. So hopefully you enjoy it. Once again, follow me on Twitter at JBHuskers. You can like the Facebook page. Just search The Wonderful Black Hole of Sports Podcast. Like the page, and we'll give you an update, a window of opportunity to do some suggestions and what you'd like to hear. Once again, Jeremy, a.k.a. JB Huskers, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Space, the final frontier.
These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise.